And I'm on tacticaldistributors.com right now, trying to get more of these Neptune pants, 4.0s. The skinnies or the slims, I don't know what they are, but they're sick. So I need more. Unpossible 15 gets you 15% off at checkout. Just go on there, get whatever you want. They have everything.
You know what else it gets you?
What's it get me?
Bitches.
15% off, Unpossible 15.
So, again, another special guest.
Yes.
So, I want to try to introduce him and give his entire background very quickly.
Hell yeah.
So, John, Zero, Shrek, Sheriff of Baghdad, McPhee. So, he grew up outside of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of Chicago. Not the perfect childhood. Parents, mother and stepfather.
Mm-hmm.
Raised you to be tough. So thinks he's going to be the world's greatest diesel mechanic and welder. Decides that sucks after a few years. Going to join the Air Force.
Go blue.
They told him, yeah, and they told him he was too handsome,
right,
to be in the Air Force after some testing.
Yeah,
and suggested the Army. So he goes on to have a historic career. So Army, Rangers, SF, 7th Group, unit, and now you're just a fucking stand-up comedian, basically, and do some training.
Amen.
And develop products and
Amen.
Have fun. Is that about right?
That's about right.
I nailed it pretty good?
Yeah.
Right.
Let's emphasize the fun, though. You know
The
what I
fun.
mean? Like, I feel like for years, like I was super serious, you know.
You have a reputation.
Yeah, the last few years, like when I was a sergeant major, like I was so burned out.
super fun to be around.
Yeah, it was like, hey, guys would come in my office and they'd be like, hey, sergeant major, I too slow, get the fuck out, Too slow. And so like, yeah, I just like somewhere realized I wasn't the funny guy anymore, and then I realized I used to be the funny guy, and I just tried to get back to that.
And it's a lot of fun being funny.
Oh, I'm going to tell you,
is
this,
like the best shit,
dude. You want to smile every day, the rest of your life, funny and positive. Like,
yeah,
serious.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Like you say it during your tenure at the unit, which you know a lot of our buddies that have been on here, same tenure. I mean, what a incredible time if you're into that to be there. But I think I said it on one of the other ones. It was like everybody there getting close to retirement, they go through sergeant major. And it's like I remember a mutual friend of ours that was there at the time. Like he didn't know how to put the patches on the uniform and stuff. He was so pissed. Like by the time they all get there, it's like, yeah, get sick of the Army and all that kind of stuff. I mean, especially when you're in an organization like that and then you have to go do some basic Army stuff that makes no sense. Everybody seems to get an attitude there at the end about it. Yeah,
well, I'll tell you the patches thing. That is so real because in my Army, they were sewed on. So you took them to a sew shop, they were sewed on, and then the Velcro Army comes out when I'm still in the I don't need shit Army, and then I'm a sergeant major in the Velcro Army, and they're like, I don't know where they go. They were they never moved before. Then like, sergeant major, your name tag's on the wrong side. Like it is. Like, are you sure this is wrong? Like what the? Are you sure? Let me look at yours. Like, I guess everyone else is right. I am not. So I'll swap them, right? But that's real, man. That is real shit, right?
Well, I want to ask you a lot of random questions. I think some about guns and some about other things.
Boom,
go.
Why
do all the Rangers have to learn how to sew?
I'll tell you why is because the Rangers aren't giving shit and you're having to tie it down with a piece of 550 cord. So when you can actually break something and break it where you could use it better, you're going to cut it up. You're going to sew that shit. Woo!
Oh, is it required that you guys learn to sew?
No.
Because another guy you retired with who was a Ranger who worked with me for a while, anytime we needed anything, I just had him sew it.
Yeah.
Like he on a sewing machine, like a little grandma with his little readers on, like I have, sewing shit up for me.
Yeah. I don't think it's a Ranger thing. I think it's a generational thing.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. Because, I mean, look, in our day, even in the unit, we just had Army gear, boots, poncho liner.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Like,
early on.
Yeah,
Well, the
so-
first 25 years or so, yeah.
So any custom gear, anything like that was made by the dude that was like, I think I'm going to use it like this, right? So a lot of guys would just go down to the sew shop and just, cut something, sew it somewhere else just to make their life a little easier.
I was going to ask that because I don't think I'd ever seen that in being there. But I assumed you guys had a sew shop like you have, like armorers and gun shop and all.
Yeah, on top of the rigger shed. Yeah.
Okay, no wonder I was never there.
Well, it's for fixing parachutes.
Yeah.
But when the machines aren't for what parachutes that need to be fixed, it's for, you can go sew your assault kit or whatever.
Yeah, I saw a lot of custom stuff back then, even like 10, 15 years ago there on guys.
Yeah.
Different career field, but we had a lot of SEER washouts. So in the Air Force, you can go to become a SEER instructor. It's a career field. We had a lot of washouts.
Just being an instructor?
Yeah. So you become a SEER specialist. So I think you participate in the SEER schools, and then eventually you become, as you advance through your career, you become an instructor. But and that is just a career field.
Oh, it sounds like a horrible job.
Some dudes like it.
Yeah, if you want to bully people.
Garantham was a SEER specialist before he transitioned.
You want to cook rabbits in an ammo can all the time.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Well, so we had a lot of washouts that washed out because of sewing.
For real?
It's part of their tech school, and you only get a couple chances.
I guess the Air Force, you probably have a lot of parachutes and stuff, huh?
Well, no, this is for SEER. This is for them doing whatever the fuck they need to do. And so a lot of guys would wash out at that point. We had a bunch in my unit that washed out for sewing.
It's interesting the things that can mind fuck people.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, listen, I'm no seamstress, but like,
Nor
doesn't
am I.
seem like out of all the things you have to learn, sewing would be the one that would, it shouldn't be your kryptonite.
Right.
I wouldn't think. No.
It's like tying a knot around something,
A couple times.
but through it once or
Yeah.
twice.
Did you ever, you didn't grow up with guns, huh?
I did not.
Yeah.
My grandpa was. I grew up in the city most of my years, right? But
Yeah.
my grandpa was a legit redneck in a field full of Democrats. You know what I mean? And he shot, and they ended up moving to Southern Illinois. So when we were kids,
Oh yeah, that's country redneck there.
yeah, he grew up in Meridian, Mississippi, and never paid for food in his life.
That's
before
real
he-
redneck still.
Yeah, still, right? And he
hunting.
drove a car. He drove moonshine for his dad when he was a kid because his dad, being older, couldn't figure out how to drive the car, and him being a kid did.
Technology, man.
I know, like you give my kid my iPhone, like, hey, this thing ain't working right, kid, right? Like, so kind of same thing. He figured out how to drive, but we shot with him a little bit. I hunted with him a little bit, but just a couple weeks on the summer I get to spend with him.
So you I guess like me then developed kind of passion for shooting and firearms. Then once you're exposed to it as an adult.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, we had a pattern every morning. When I was a kid, I'd live with them in the summer. Every morning we'd wake up, we'd get the 410 out. We'd go get a squirrel or rabbits, whatever we get. We'd clean them. They'd go in buttermilk. That's what we'd eat tomorrow for breakfast. Yeah. And then we'd eat whatever we got yesterday. Yeah. And if we didn't get anything, breakfast was pretty lean, right? And then we'd set trout lines. We'd go fishing. We'd eat turtle. I loved all of it, cleaning it, everything.
Oh, really?
I loved all of it as a kid, yeah.
Huh, it's interesting. I wasn't exposed to that until I was an adult. Like your family, my family was from South Georgia, and they were country people. And then a couple generation and a half before me, they all moved to the city, and so there's no exposure to it. So I never had any exposure until I was an adult.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, interesting how. And so you just fell in love with it.
Yeah, especially cutting shit up. Guts and shit, like I loved all of that. You know what I mean?
So you had to lie on the psych eval, huh?
I didn't lie.
Yeah.
I know the difference between right or wrong.
An omission of information is not lying.
I know the difference.
Yeah. Well, you so it was it when you got into the unit that you got really into pistol shooting? Because that's the only place I've seen where there's a lot of pistol shooting.
Yeah, I was terrible with a pistol before I came to the unit.
Everyone is unless you shoot a lot.
Yeah, shockingly horrible.
Like worse than average.
Oh, yeah. And so when I joined the Army's like, oh, you're a lefty. We don't train lefties here, kid. Put the gun in your other hand. So I did everything in Ranger Battalion as a righty, which makes me terrible than everybody because I'm not a righty. I'm a lefty, but I didn't even know I was a lefty because I didn't even have a chance to be a lefty yet. But I'm not a righty either, right? So
that was me in kindergarten with the scissors.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
They didn't have left-handed scissors. They're like, no, you're right-handed.
Yeah. Yeah. So my first few years in Ranger Battalion was I was probably the bottom of the stack when it came to any firearm. Because
really?
Yeah, I hadn't figured out what hand to use, what eye to use, because I'm a lefty. And then over the years, I started to figure it out. But I think the Army probably did me a disservice by making me do everything right-handed from Jump Street.
What'd they have when you joined? They had Berettas by then.
Yeah, Berettas, I think. Well, I don't know. I think it was
Maybe
still
1911.
Yeah, I think basic training was Berettas, but I think the 1911 was still in service in the Army.
All right, so you do that. When do you start though falling in love with shooting and weapons? Like, is it a Ranger?
Yeah.
Where is that? Where's that happen?
So, probably in the Rangers, in Ranger Battalion, you're just, the amount of ammo that you get to shoot as a young kid. So, love machine guns, love everything about them, right? So, I really liked rifles. I've always liked rifles. I actually don't like pistols. I don't care about pistols. I don't care about teaching pistol. I know I'm good at it, and I know I can help a lot of people. My passion has always been long range and long rifles, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Love it. Love everything about it, yeah.
I thought you were going to tell me you just went to sniper school because,
no,
you thought it was required to get somewhere else or something.
No, I loved everything about it. Matter of fact, I didn't think... when I got promoted to be a team leader in the unit, I thought I would take a sniper team. And when they gave me an assault team, they're like, hey, you're going to be the next team leader. I was like, yes, and got promoted in combat even, first guy out of my OTC class. Like, this is great, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, what team, And they said an assault team. I was like... You want me to go back to being an assaulter? And they're like...
I would have picked you for that, too, knowing you then as well.
Well, hey, my squadron sergeant major was like, yeah, you're a 400-pound gorilla. You should be on an assault team. And I was like, yes, sergeant major.
John's getting old and skinny now, but...
I've seen some pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big boy.
Like a fucking dump truck, man.
Yeah. But I love long guns, long range. So... I fell in love with the rifle in Rangers,
okay.
Yeah. And who doesn't fall in love with the rifle as a Ranger? Seriously.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, in Ranger Battalion, I'm not sure what years you were there, but what were you guys carrying?
Yeah. Back then you started out as a rifleman with an actual M16, and then you moved up and it was like you were the Grenadier, the 203, and then the super shitty original SAW. Yeah. You were a SAW gunner, and then I moved up to be a 60 gunner, and then I transitioned from the 60 to the Mag 58.
Wow.
Yeah. We transitioned to those
pre-240.
Yeah, and then I got recruited to be a sniper, company sniper. So then it was Remington 700s and M4s.
Yeah, was it? It was M24s then.
Yeah, M24s. Yeah, that's what we did all the time. That's all we did.
It's a cool gun.
It is cool.
Yeah,
this is a real one. When Remington bought my company, they gave me this gun, and it was one of 4 or 6 or something. That like a National Guard sniper unit, they couldn't buy the guns, so Remington leased them to them, and so they went on some deployments, and then Remington ended up getting them back. So this is one that's actually was in combat and everything.
Yeah, it says M24 on the action and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, and so they said there were, I forget if it was 4 or 6, but this is one of those. That's the optic, that's the paint job, and that's the gun. The only thing I've changed, is the rear scope cover broken?
Yes.
Okay, well, I haven't changed it. It's still the same one.
Yeah.
That gun shoots. Oh, my God. But that's like a real one, so that's cool.
Yeah.
That's not one of those cloner things.
I'm trying to get a clone one. So.
Yeah, and this gun back then, I think, for the Army was like $6,000 or $7,000. These guns were a lot. It wasn't just a 700.
Yeah.
They weren't cheap back then, that's for sure.
Yeah. So that's what you loved. That's What was your first exposure to a gun with a silencer?
Ranger Battalion.
It was?
Yeah, and I was on a sniper team, and I'm telling you, I loved this can. It was quiet. I still haven't seen this to this day. They're gone, and I wish they came back. It was the can where it went all the way to the front sight post tower over an M4.
Oh, over an M4. The Allen can?
Yeah, I don't know what kind of can it was. I was a Ranger.
Oh. Pre-Allen.
It bolted onto the front sight post tower.
Was there was a piece that went as a 2-piece thing that clamps around the barrel and engages on the bayonet lug? And
I think so, yeah.
It's an OpSync can. I have one upstairs. I'll show you.
But when I was a young Ranger, they, like when I went to a sniper team, that's what they had. And it was like, how clever. Most of the suppressor is underneath the barrel, right? Like, why not do that, right?
Oh, does it look like a flashlight, that clamp part? It almost looks like a...
It's just a donut.
Yeah.
Goes around the barrel, 2 Allen screws. It engages the
bayonet
lug.
Yeah.
And it's got a little taper on it and the silencer. Yeah. Threads on the muzzle, but goes back to it and aligns back there. Yeah, those are great cans because that's like in, what's his name in the Navy, the lone survivor?
Marcus Luttrell.
Yeah, but that's, he had the Mark 12,
yep.
And it's got like the next generation of that can on it. So the Navy continued to use them for quite a while, actually. This is a great can. It was actually, in hindsight, there was a lot of cool features ahead of its time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I don't know why the civilian market had never caught on, right? Because it goes backwards over the barrel.
Yeah, now what we've discovered is with technology then, that was awesome. But now, with like more modern design and technology, you basically have to go 6 inches over the barrel to equal 1 inch in front of the muzzle or thereabouts. But yeah, at that time, because there was like all that psionics, Mac, terrible shit from the Vietnam era. And then this was kind of like the next generation of stuff. The OpSync scan, like you're talking about. So it was a huge leap forward. For the size, very lightweight. They were very quiet. It's very durable. Going over the barrel like that, yeah, it's cool. It was the guy Phil. The hell's his name? Because those are his initials. OPS. Seeberger. Phil Seeberger was the guy. He was a dentist, and he was this crazy old son of a bitch from California somewhere, maybe near San Francisco or something. And he was the meanest dude in the world. And I remember when he was still alive, about 20 years ago at SHOT Show, he came in our booth and he hated everyone. And he came up to me and started talking about my mother.
Jesus.
Like picking a fight. He was seriously then like 80 years old. And he would fuck with Reed. He was just like a son of a bitch. He was so mean.
Was Allen at OpSync?
Yeah, so he's the guy that kind of made all the cans for Seeberger. Yeah. And then when Seeberger died, I think his daughter tried to continue it, but Allen just made him himself.
I forget his first name, but I'll think of it.
So that's how Surefire silencers happen. Actually, Barry Duke worked for OpSync. And then he took that design, Surefire, and they did the little... mount, and they used Inconel instead of 304 stainless. And so, Seeberger wanted to murder Barry Duke until the day he died. But yeah, that's how Surefire did silencers. Barry Duke was in the Marine Corps and then got out and went to work for Seeberger doing those silencers.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Small world.
Super small.
It's all connected. It's like that 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon separation or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so that was Ranger Battalion. It was interesting when I first started my company, my old company, and we started doing silencers. Like the Army, they were such assholes about silencers. Like you talk to any of the SF groups or Ranger Battalion, silencers degrade accuracy. They're stupid. They're heavy. Fuck you. We're not interested. But the Navy was real progressive. I mean, they always were kind of using silencers, it seemed like. And they had some good stuff. When is the first time? Okay, how about this? When's the first time you used something other than a sniper rifle, an optic, whether it be a red dot or a magnified optic on like an assault rifle or a machine gun?
Yeah, the first time I did that was OTC.
Damn.
Yeah.
So all the way to the unit before you used...
It was what, an aim point 5,000, 1,000, I don't know, something thousand.
Well, you remember the first time I saw an aim point was in an ad in like 1991 at Schwarzkopf overseas with like unit guys protecting them.
Yep.
They had them on their carrying handles.
Yeah.
With that unit vest, you know, the fishing vest.
The fly fishing vest.
Yeah, with the Ray-Bans.
Yeah.
So really, that's when it was. Okay.
Yeah.
I was assuming that was what it would be, actually.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything like that. Even when I was in Ranger Battalion, even sniper rifles, they didn't fit in like the lockup cages in the arms room with the optics on it. So every night when we locked them up, we had to take our optics off and then re-zero in the next morning just to go train.
Isn't it crazy that kind of stuff dictates a lot of things?
Yeah, that's how the Army was, yeah. And then, the first time I seen real suppressors was the unit, and, you get suppressors. And
they just really started getting into it like when the war kicked off.
Yeah. We had been testing, I don't know, as a sniper in the unit, we had been testing like suppress, subsonic, the assassinate a world leader at 600 yards with the suppress subsonic shot. You know what I mean? We had been trying that,
Oh, yeah. All the crazy shit.
Yeah. And, I would tell you this is like my first real experience with suppressors, like not just throwing it on the end for noise and doing what I was going to do anyway, was then. And we would go down and we would draw like, the guy told me that I worked for at the time, he's like, hey, go to the arms room, go draw 10 suppressors, and then meet me on the range. And I'm like, okay, draw 10 suppressors. So they go to the arms room, right? And you know who Grumpy works in the arms room.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Charlie.
Yeah, go tell him you want 10 suppressors, right? And he's got to do the hand receipt, and like they're all mad at you, right? So I go down range, but what you didn't know back then was one of them's going to be 7 mils to the left. One's going to be, and one is going to be almost dead on or pretty darn close, and that's the one you're going to use, right? And what's funny is I wrote like 7 mils left on a suppressor in paint marker, right? Jesus. And years later, my sniper team, now I'm the second in charge, right? We get a new guy, right? My new guy, I tell him, I give him the 10 suppressor thing. He looks at me like I'm the dick, right? But his suppressor that had the least amount of zero shift on his gun was the one that was 7 mils off on my gun.
You bring up a good point because silencers, any asshole can make a silencer. It's not hard. But making hundreds or thousands of them where you can be consistent. And then, like I understand is like my journey in the industry goes on. I understand Knight's armament and Reed. Like if because I can make the best silencer mounting system, but if the shoulder on the barrel is shit or those tolerances aren't good, it might seem like the silencer's a thing causing an issue with point of impact shift or accuracy when actually it's not. So, that's why you see all of our guns. We have tapers on the muzzle, and we're trying to mitigate all of that stuff. And now we're essentially trying to be like Knights. Like we want to build the whole thing so we can control it. So you don't have a situation like you did.
Right.
But I've always thought it was interesting with the unit. Like the unit never wanted to get all of their stuff at one place. Like, they never had all HKs or all Colt or all, KAC. And when you start mixing and matching, you're going to have to figure out some of that stuff. Which the unit was a great place to do those things because it had the resources and wanted to do it. But it's difficult. You know, especially when you're working with H&K and they're German, and you're working with FN and they're Belgian, and, you know, we're in America.
Well, by the time you got up there, I assume that they'd been using cans already for a bit, and you just were unaware of it. Because I'm trying to think, like, I think Gary Gordon's rifle had a can on it.
Yeah. I had used cans in Ranger Battalion, but only because I was a sniper. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, the cans that when I start really using cans was the unit, because when you think about this, mid-90s in the Army, you think any Army unit in 1995 had one suppressor. You know what I mean? So the unit was really where I learned almost anything about suppressors, other than as a sniper, I had a suppressor for my sniper team. You know, there's a few suppressors, you know, in the Ranger Battalion, but like everyone didn't have one.
Right.
Anything
it just made me think, because when you were talking about you had been testing stuff, blah, 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 like, it made me think, like, I wonder how long they'd been using them. Because I was sitting here thinking about it. I'm like, I think Gary Gordon's rifle had a can on it.
He did. I think they tested a lot of stuff, and there would be a few guys. And, I mean, of course, John would know better than me, but when I started doing a lot of silencers and working with the unit a lot, the 22s were from the late 70s.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And the arms room would rebuild them. And then I saw pistols that I did silencers for back in the early 2000s that were there, but they'd probably only been used once or twice. And I saw, and there were MP5 SDs, and then there was like random things that looked like they were testing over the years. And I know there were, but there wasn't much. They weren't really into silencers until.
Yeah, well, I mean, even Tom Smith told us that he was just like, they told us, take all your cans off, like. Which at that time I think he was running 416, so it wasn't like this was the early 90s.
Well, like, the 416, that was a different thing. So that was around 05, 06, and so you guys have obviously access to all Army stuff, and so the Army, you know, and SOCOM had Knights cans, but on, you know, the problem with some of the requirements and who does them is like the 416. There was never a requirement for that gun with a silencer, and that's my understanding, and it wasn't really thought about. And then you get the gun, we have these silencers. Of course, dudes are going to put them on there. Yeah, but it would cause reliability issues. Yeah. And so until they adopted a can, then it went to a down select between us and Surefire won that, and I think that's 06. And it was because of reliability of the gun, because of back pressure. 'Cause, you know, that gun was designed or that silencer for the M4, 14.5-inch barrel. And so it doesn't mean you put it on the 416. That's a whole different operating system. Yeah. And so my understanding was it was just a reliability thing. And so they ran, you know, a whole program to get a silencer that wouldn't sacrifice reliability.
Yeah. It's just crazy to think of the development over time. Like, you reach a period of time, late 90s, early 2000s, where, okay, cans are more acceptable, or we're going to start using them more. Then you get that new platform, and everyone's like, fuck a can, get off. To then now, where they're a standard.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think? Using silencers in combat, like, let's say once the war kicks off and everything, and you're an assault, you're running an assault, everybody's using a silencer?
I think it's a waste. I would say this. In every one of those massive G-base like firefights, and then they even make movies about these, Restrepo or any of those movies, every one of those, every gun is so hot to the point that it fails, and the guys are running around from gun to gun hoping one cools enough that it'll shoot a couple rounds. So I can't understand how having a suppressor in these situations would actually help. Now, what I would say is there's a time to use it. When's the time to use it? You're a sniper. You're on buildings maybe down the block. You got to open up early. I would suppress then. I would take my early shots in front of the assault force, right? And then what I would do is I would take it off in case I had to do anything else. I think... you know, and I don't know if this is true or not, but the mindset through my time was this adds heat quickly to the gun, and this is going to be quicker to this gun failing, right? So is the noise we're making a bigger detriment, right, than what the suppressor would give us? And, so I would say my 90% of the time I was running without, only 90%. Because,
wow.
Yeah, because think about this. If this is a shit show today, once this turns bad, I'm not going to have time to take off a hot can.
Right.
Okay.
So I need to make the decision ahead of time. Do I need to be quiet? Yes or no? And do I think I'm going to have to shoot a ton of rounds? Yes or no?
Was this okay? Well, is that, let's say the majority of the operations being like nighttime, you guys are going on hits at night, maybe 10, 20 a night. Are you're still no silencer?
If you're using a helicopter, there's no reason to use a silencer.
That's true. Bird's a lot of shit.
Right? So any helo mission waste. Now,
So
I would
you're
tell
not
you
thinking
this.
about
I'd
if you
have
guys are getting shot back at, being able to differentiate, who's shooting, or muzzle flash, or sound, or comms, or anything.
No. I would tell you this: if you're trying to hide muzzle flash, great way to do it. Nothing says shoot here in the dark like a 7.62. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Return fire there. So a suppressor could be great for that. But I mean, honestly, look, if you did a lot of things right, if you were on a helicopter, no reason to have a suppressor, right? If you had proper, I don't know, if you had proper standoff and proper, placement inside a building, you could hide your muzzle flash, even though there's noise, you know what I mean? And if there's just a ton of shooting and there's so much noise in war, and there's so much noise.
So like actual gunfight.
Yeah.
Not just an offense.
Yeah. I mean, I think the problem is, and I say this all the time, is a lot of guys prescribe to what I would call the soft enemy concept, where we're only going after maybe a couple guys and there's only going to be a couple rounds exchanged. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In those situations, a suppressor would be fine. But what if this lasted 6 hours, 2 hours, 5 hours? Right? Could a suppressor just keep taking, could you shoot? I mean, and I don't know what they could take, and this would be a situational based thing, right? And I'd make the decision as this happened, but it adds heat to the gun, and you'd be closer to failing a little bit, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, if you're
I never thought about that.
Yeah, just assume that like 99% of the time it's not like a real gunfight where you're changing mags.
Right. Or, hey, I'm a sniper, and I got to take out the guard shack. I'm suppressed, and I'm doing that suppressed.
Yeah.
However, when I get to the regular objective where there might be more bad guys, I'll probably take it off before I get there. So as a sniper, we used to do a series of on and off. Make sense?
Yeah. The only thing that I'm thinking of is what were you guys running like Peltors at this point? Because I'm just thinking if I'm inside with all my friends and we're all touching off short rifles, I'm going to be bummed. Unless, even... I would assume you guys have Peltors at this point or active Hearing Pro.
Yeah, most guys wore Peltors then. However, there is times where you can't have a Peltor on. Any type of low visibility, limited signature stuff, you may not have a Peltor on.
Yeah. Fuck. We were in the plains of Africa and there's nothing around, and being around guns going off. I'm like, man, this sucks.
Touch them off in the Serengeti.
Right. Yeah. So
it's a headache.
Now being inside of a mud house with all my friends too. Fuck that.
I used to tell guys when I do the taxi thing in and around Baghdad, I used to tell guys I pick up, I'd be like, hey, if I have to shoot, it is normal if your ears bleed or the windows break from the gunfire. That's normal.
Jesus Christ.
Be warned.
Yeah.
Be warned.
Okay, so that was made me think of a few questions. So you just answered one. You've shot from inside a vehicle before.
Yeah.
Then inside a room.
It's loud.
Yeah.
So loud.
Personally, I think every gun should be suppressed, and I think it should be part of the barrel and how the bullet just comes out. There should be no reason why guns make noise that could make people deaf, because most people that shoot guns are law enforcement or military, not criminals.
You shoot a pistol in combat?
No. I am a rifleman. My rifle works. I would be borderline embarrassed if my rifle jammed and it was something I could control, maintenance, oil, you know what I mean? I would be embarrassed, right? However, 50 times a night, I am to my pistol because I might be carrying a ladder, right? I carry a ladder.
Okay, so
I'm helping someone
so you
walk
carried a pistol all the time?
every night in my hands, dozens of times
And you
a night.
used it all the time? Just never had to shoot anybody?
No, not had to shoot anybody. Yeah.
Did you have a light on it?
Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. Most of the time I did.
Were you? I heard you guys talking before. Were you running 1911s at this time, or had you switched to Glocks? Or
Oh, yeah.
That was around... Oh, yeah, you definitely had a 1911 issued to you.
A few of them. Yep.
Yeah, and then... Because when was this switch? Do you know? It was 2004 or 5 maybe?
Yeah, I'd say 4 or 5.
It was after the war, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I had 1911s, but I carried a G19.
yeah.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I was gonna say a lot of the group guys talk about carrying Glock 19s in their like canteen pouches and shit, just because I had to have them with them.
Yeah, I'll tell you why I carried a G19, because most of the time I was out alone, like in Baghdad, and I could get 9mm anywhere. I could get Glock mags anywhere. I could get Glock stuff anywhere.
Because 40 wasn't so available over there.
Yeah, 40 was in its infancy and not available, and 45. If I'm out alone, I could go to any army kid, give me ammo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I started probably carrying my G19 in Afghanistan only because it was lighter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we talked, and I love that when people say, well, just work out. And like, you were fucking stout then, and you're still thinking about being lighter.
Dude,
Smaller too.
Hey, I was 245 pounds, and at my rippedest, I was 12% body fat, as taken by legit body fat readers, not some fucking tape measure math army bullshit. And I would tell you this. If I could have lightened everything I fucking had, I would have. Yeah. And you weren't stronger than me.
And we're talking about, and we're talking, I need some of them government steroids. but we're talking about it too, and and you're not even at elevation there.
No.
So like you're not sucking oxygen and crying.
Right.
Like that. I mean, that's not like Afghanistan where you're like 10,000 feet. That's like, you're on the desert floor right there, and it still sucks.
Yeah.
Jesus. So... Okay, so you had a use. So why were you alone?
As in Afghanistan, being a reconnaissance guy, a sniper for the unit in Afghanistan, I went out alone. The book Kill Bin Laden, I went out alone. A snatch a guy, right, which was like the first successful snatch of the war. And then when we got to Iraq, it was just. They sent me out alone daily to do shit that only one guy needed to do. And
did you not feel like you were being set up?
I loved it. Are you kidding me?
You weren't horrified.
No, I go pick up. Well, a lot of times, look, the government in the beginning of the Iraq War, the government had to have like 3 Suburbans, 9 bodyguards to go pick up a source. But this guy's gonna dime out Saddam, and all them fucking black Suburbans and guys with guns pulled up in his neighborhood today. He's gonna be dead tomorrow. Yeah. Right. So I'd have him meet me at a mosque, and I'd pull up in my orange taxi, one of them that was shitty, and I'd tell him get the fuck in.
Your 91 Corolla.
Yeah.
Were there
91 Maxima?
It's the unit. You guys had money.
Yeah, that's right. Well, hey, I had this Maxima. This is a true story. That's why I say Maxima. I used to drive this Maxima downtown Baghdad, and like everyone would get out of my way. Everyone, all the time.
Why?
The Red Sea would part no matter where I drove in this car. So one day I was with a Terp. I grabbed a Terp, and I'm like, ask this guy why everyone gets out of the way of this car. And he was like, "This was an Uday secret police car."
Jesus.
It was?
It was, yeah. I didn't even know it. I was like, yeah. Yeah,
I
because
wish you could have brought that back.
in the beginning of the war, like we were just stealing cars, like
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So you guys didn't even know.
I had no idea until I asked. Yeah, but I did know this is like,
Yeah, it's like, watch it. He'll kidnap your wife and
Yeah.
daughter.
You'll find it at the soccer field.
yeah. I didn't know that, right? But I did know this
That's
is
so
like
cool.
it's like if I needed to get down quick, I drive that car because everyone would move out of the way all the time.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Damn. And I'm sure at the time, was he still running around going crazy?
He had dead then.
Oh, he'd already been dead?
No. At the time, he was still alive in the beginning of the war.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was because I feel like I remember hearing about.
Yeah.
I remember
Crusoe.
watching it. Didn't the Rangers shoot up that house that he and his brother were in or whatever?
I thought they
that was A2.
Oh,
That was Hugh.
Was it?
Yeah, that was Hugh. Yeah, Hugh and the boys. Yeah,
Oh. I didn't even know that.
Hugh
Yeah.
Laurie for those listening.
yeah,
Hugh Laurie House.
yeah. Doctor House.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. Because I feel like
I remember
hearing-
watching it on television.
Yeah. They went to go get him. Yeah, and we were the first guys to get one of the dogs killed that were kind of new. Getting Uday and Kusei.
Oh, really?
Oh, and Working Dog.
Yeah. We were bad guys for that too. You know what I mean? Like we're in the hot wash. Like you guys killed a dog. I was like, hey, raise your hand if anyone wants it to be you. Then
Yeah.
shut the fuck up. That's what them guys
I
are
was gonna
for.
say that's why they got.
I
those
get it.
dogs.
The dog's name was Ivan. I loved Ivan. I thought he was great, but like, it ain't one of you. Shut the fuck up. That's what they're for.
Did you ever run into any issues
Crazy.
coming back onto? I mean, I'm not sure if you guys were at FOBs or whatever, but like I know dudes that there were like SF dudes that would roll up in traditional garb, and you'd just see a leg at the ECP, point his gun at him and say, "I'm gonna fucking shoot you." Like, did you ever run into that? Like guys not knowing, hey, this is
Oh, me?
yeah.
Oh,
Like when you're in your taxi.
I've been shot.
Oh,
I've had vehicles shot. Yeah, by Joe all the
Yeah.
time. Like, yeah. And I'll get out of the car, like, holding my ID card. And they'll be like, and at the time I was at EA, they'd be like, dang, Top, like, what are you doing looking like that, Top? Because in the Army, EA's a top, right?
Yeah.
Like where I work, it's nothing. But
Yeah.
the Army kid is a top. And they'd be like, dang, Top, where you get that beard, Top? What? Why you driving that taxi, Top?
Yeah.
Like, hey,
Did you have a tanning bed?
I didn't need one. I was in
did?
Iraq.
Oh, yeah, I guess. It is. Oh, man. That is.
Yeah.
I don't have balls like that. I'm not. Oh, by yourself all the time.
Yeah.
And you loved it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what.
You're
I
sick.
was the first time I was shot at a checkpoint. I was livid. I was fighting mad.
Rightfully so.
And yeah. And then, but think about this. This kid sits in this sandbag fucking tower in 130-degree heat.
Can't sleep, can't beat off.
With an 11-pound, well, probably beats off in there all day long. You just can't see him through the little machine gun port. Trust me.
I ain't beating off. It's 130 degrees.
Hey, check this out. Army guys are beating off in there all day. Don't fool yourself. They spunk all over. Don't ever put a black light in the guard tower. I'm just throwing it out there. But like that kid sits there all day long and has to wait for some fuckhead to come blow him up.
And finally sees his
then-
taxi
and
ripping
then,
in.
And then like the fucking guy who won't stop for shit, he wants to shoot. Like I was mad at first.
You're
And
like,
then,
my name is McPhee, asshole.
yeah, I didn't even try to do the name game with him. And then, the best thing to do is start cussing with your best slang you can. What the fuck, you stupid cocksucker? And good
Oh,
slang.
he's definitely
too.
in the Army. Definitely
Yeah.
in the Army.
Yeah. Hey, because if you threw out some like mother bitch, like they'd be like, shoot him. He doesn't even know how to cuss. Shoot him. It's a trick. It's a plan.
Definitely a setup.
Yeah.
Sleeper cell.
Be like, how did you know? How did you know, Corporal? And he'd be like, he said mother bitch, Sergeant. Who says that? Oh my God, your insight is incredible. But they used to shoot, and then like, what could I do? Like, and then I'm rolling up in a taxi,
Maybe not do that.
and then it's my job. I'll tell you, like one of the first nights I rolled up, I was in a minivan with a crew of dudes, and like the
crew of your dudes or
yeah,
dudes?
yeah. And I roll up into the checkpoint, and the Iraq wide policy in entering a checkpoint at night is you must have an IR strobe inside the vehicle, which we had. However, Joe don't got fucking night vision because he stands out there all fucking night, and that shit's another 5 fucking pounds on his head, and he ain't fucking wearing it. You know what I mean? So we roll up with our strobe on, like, what the... And you know, the kid wants to shoot us, and like they swarm the fucking minivan, and like, you know, we get out, they get out, and they're like, dang, look at you guys. We're like, dang, look at you guys, right? And but the reality is like every time those situations would happen, you can't blame them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
No one told
like,
them.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Iraq policy is
part of you guys too. I mean, yeah, of course you don't want them knowing, so it's a little double-edged sword.
It is. Well, the Iraq policy is have a strobe light in your vehicle, right? But no one told Joe he had to wear his night vision all night long. You know what I mean?
And he's probably sharing night vision with somebody too.
Oh, yeah. They got one for 10 of them. You know what I mean? Who knows? It's like, who's got the night vision right now? I think Jones does, Sergeant.
Yeah. Is it ECP3? Yeah.
Well, let me ask you that. Let's shift into this. You bring up night vision. So we're not talking about Army infantry, you know, 30-year-old shit. So for the unit, how much more successful do you estimate you guys were able to be with the, you know, with the money resources you guys had, which led to the technology and thermal and night vision that you guys got to use throughout the war? Like, were you guys able to, you know, be 10 times more efficient, 100 times more efficient? Like, what difference did it really make for you guys? Because you guys are just hunting at night.
Yeah. I would say this. People don't understand how the money trickles down and how the money matters to the future force. And what do I mean by that? If we didn't spend money on the guys today, we're not going to have a capability for them tomorrow or in the future. Make sense?
It does. You and I were talking about earlier, like JFK and going to the fucking moon. Like, who cares? Yeah. Well, okay, now because of that, we have GPS. Yeah. We have infrared thermometers. We have Velcro. We have, like, all this shit that is still incredible today.
Yeah. So, you know, the Cold War spawned night vision, right? So I would say with all of it is the reason the American military is the most powerful military is no one spends per dollar amount per person. End of discussion. All the militaries, all the world's special operations, all the world's armies that I've seen, and I've worked at other people's Pentagons, whatever they're going to call them, no one spends that dollar amount. Now, to get that dollar amount, you have to do research and development on what the next piece of gear is. So you have to spend that money today if we're going to have a better piece of gear tomorrow. Now, when the peacetime army kicks in and no one's got money for that development, the unit still keeps that money for development and procurement, right? So, you know, that is the in case of glass break kind of money for development, but it's a never-ending process, and it never will end. And the more money we can spend on development, on technology right now, the better stuff we'll have tomorrow.
Yeah, I think for like the average person that's maybe not even interested in the military and all that, it's. I don't think there's any American that wants to see, you know, American kids go over and be killed. No. You know, like, so just the ability, even with the unit in some of the other groups, where you can have a few guys that are so well trained because they have resources and they have the technology that you can have a small group of guys do big things. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. You know, that's only because when you think about since the war. So, well, we didn't even answer the question, but thermal and night vision, was that like was that the biggest piece of technology, like kit, that made the biggest difference for you guys?
No, I would say the number one biggest thing for the unit is marksmanship. It isn't fitness. It isn't anything else. When a unit guy aims and pulls the trigger, this fight is over.
When you shoot 50 or 60,000 rounds a year through a pistol, you get good.
Yeah. Now, I would say the biggest thing in Iraq, tactically, maybe even strategically, was the night vision and thermal piece. Because, think about this. I mean, and we talked about this before. Imagine conceptually in 2000, someone could have came at night, hunted you down. You couldn't have seen shit and been like, what the fuck just happened, right? Yeah. So, and that's the beginning of Iraq, right? So, the fighting at night, fighting with the night vision. I mean, the beauty of the unit and the development is, when we were in Afghanistan with the SBS, they still had an individual like Lytton type night vision device on every weapon. So to see at night, they had to hold their weapon up, right, with some like big.
Are you serious?
Yeah, like
the Brits.
Yeah, remember the old tubular like Lyttons and stuff?
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
I believe organizationally they didn't have dual tube goggles like on the books as an organization till 2009, and I think they started getting them in.
I had them like 10 years before them.
Yeah. Well, they could get it from us on the battlefield because we worked together.
Yeah.
But we couldn't buy them or sell them to them because of international law. So we were like, oh, you guys need better night vision here. Take these.
Yeah.
But you can't get them from us.
That is so crazy. I didn't know those groups within Britain were restricted like that.
They're not restricted.
Well, it's been from cash flow resource.
Yeah. It's just a money thing.
I would think too with night vision and thermal, like you're talking about, similarly to how the sniper became a way to demoralize the enemy. Night vision and thermal had to have been the same way. Where, like you're saying, you can come in at night.
It's got to be
smoke check all your friends, and you have no idea what just happened.
Because you even think of education in that part of the world, and then also the internet wasn't widespread then. It wasn't available. Right. There weren't smartphones, and that had to seem like fucking magic or aliens.
Like, how the fuck are you seeing me?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't even have a cell phone yet. And I was raiding people's houses with night vision and a laser. I didn't even own a cell phone.
That is incredible.
I owned a dual tube night vision and a laser before I owned a cell phone.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's hard to comprehend, I bet, for a lot of young people.
Yeah, it is unbelievable.
But then think about how quickly they reacted to that, where you get guys covering themselves with blankets at night and all that kind of stuff. Like how quickly they react to, once they figured it out, they went, well, we have nothing equal to this, but we can figure out ways to combat it.
Right.
Which is insane.
I always say we kill the dumb ones first.
Yeah.
It's true.
And that's why it gets hard after that.
Yeah.
Well, I have two questions on my mind right now that are sort of unrelated. But you brought up the book that you and your guys were in the Hindu Kush to get bin Laden right after 9/11. The book is To Kill Bin Laden. Is that it's been so long, like I don't even remember the name anymore.
It gets lost in all the SEAL books.
So that so you got the Hindu Kush, Jesus. So that's real altitude, and you guys were on the hunt. Could you guys have gotten him?
Yeah,
100%,
no doubt about it. Yeah, and look, I told you this. I tell everybody this. My squadron sergeant major said it took 10 of us to do what the Russians couldn't do in 10 years, and it took us 10 days.
Burn, Putin.
Yeah. How good was that, right? Now, right? Good timing. Now, I would say this is, I personally think that the war ended without informing us, the guys on the ground, without killing all the bad guys or capturing them. And it ended because think about this. If bin Laden would have died in the first 10 days of December of 2001, guess where the jihad would have been? Guess where the GWAT would have been? Guess where the funding for the CIA or DOD would have been? So, I'm not a conspiracy guy, but I think about that all the time.
Yeah, because you're not the only guy that was there on your team that I've talked to about it. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you guys were clearly at times, an hour or two behind him.
Right. And manipulated to not move forward, to not make that next call.
Directed.
For fire. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and then it's crazy because you look at it grand scale, and obviously, and I wasn't in Afghanistan. I never deployed. It's not really my position to say. But at the grand scale of it all, how many successes came out of Afghanistan over those 20 years?
Besides zero?
Yeah, right. Like,
wait, I thought this was a trick question. I was like,
well, no, like
someone besides zero?
And I don't mean that to take anything away from anyone who was there. I just mean,
I would say even if you called that a failure, which how can you call it it's a national failure.
Agree.
But not on you guys. But, the first thing you said about that was the Russians couldn't do it in 10 years and 10 of us did it in 10 days. Pretty big fucking success in that regard. Like, if you get to the target and they say don't shoot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you compare that to Iraq. Like, a couple hundred guys or 150 guys completely took over the entire country in 120 days, basically, in Iraq.
You and I probably could have taken over Iraq. Jeez.
We should try it.
Not to take away from these guys.
Right, no.
But it's not like the Hindu Kush.
It's just an entirely different animal. Like, for what? Like, just I'm only thinking of this just because, like, you're saying, like, you're not a conspiracy guy, but it's just like,
okay. Well, ask these first. I want to, before we leave the Hindu Kush, like, how horrible is that terrain and altitude?
Afghanistan terrain is on a scale of 1 to 10 and 11, and the enemy is a 1.
Yeah, so you're just fighting the terrain, not the enemy at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you go to Baghdad, and it's...
The terrain is a 2, and the enemy is a 2.
CJ, you and I, we're definitely 5s.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah.
Well, what? Well, then, how well was there any real resistance at your level?
Once in a great while, some of these foreign fighters, once in a while, some random dude would be like, "This guy's a fucking badass," right? Like,
really?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't counter them? Like, from where or who or what would they do?
Chechens.
They're definitely
no.
Hey, tough circumstances. South side of Chicago, they make it creates tough men.
Yeah. The Chechens in Afghanistan were awesome. They oiled their guns, cleaned them daily, right? Like, had a lot of respect for the Chechens. The Afghans had a ton of respect for the Chechens in Afghanistan. In Iraq, it was like the foreign fighters, right? These guys came here. They flooded. We created the market on foreign fighters.
So are these not because they're passionate about the cause in Iraq, but they're just anti-American?
Yeah, they want to kill Americans.
They just want to get in on the jihad. You know what I mean?
So the Germans and the Israelis. I'm kidding.
But
they're cool, I'm sure.
Yeah, some of those nights, like some of those guys were pretty tough. But the reality is like, I don't think we have seen like an army size objective since World War II. What do I mean by that? Is like, I mean, think about even the legendary shit that the unit's doing right now. Baghdadi, all of them, man. Like, all of that is like troop level shit. 10 or 12 guys with some assets can pull that off. You know what I mean?
Well, do you think it's going to go away from that? When we talk about technology, we didn't even bring up like fucking drones and satellite use and, I mean, we've been dropping bombs for a long time, but the ability to pinpoint drop them and using GPS and, using lasers and shit like this to really put a bomb right up someone's ass. Like, that's relatively new.
Yeah, I don't think like the size of the fight is going to change. I think that's fairly normal. But what I do think might change is I do think if Europe turns to shit, we might see army level shit happening. You know what I mean?
I guess you can't just bomb all of Europe.
Right. Which means like we might see like all the Rangers, all the unit, all the SEALs, all of SOCOM on like one raid. Wouldn't that be cool?
Hell yeah.
But
sick.
Wouldn't
last long.
Yeah. My point is like, think about this, is I don't think that we have fought any war lately. I think what we do is police actions, right? Like America fights police action since World War II.
Oh.
I think what Putin is doing right now is fighting a war.
Yeah.
Like he'll just go in and kill everybody. And if we could just get the civilians out of the way, right, and we could go in and kill the bad guys so much easier. So, okay, well, how do we get the civilians out of the way? Ask them to leave. If they don't leave, we kill everybody. Like, it's that simple, right? Like, we ask you to leave, right? So I don't think we've seen real warfare, and we're starting to see it. And we're starting to see it in a lot of ways. I mean, look at the number. Look, Ukraine's been going on, a few months, and look at the number of casualties of Russian soldiers already, right? This is real warfare where they don't give a shit about.
Putin, he doesn't just, well, I think he doesn't want to kill all the Ukrainians because I think he needs the workforce. Like, the Russians aren't procreating and,
right.
For them
but he
to
doesn't
stay
seem
like
to be
an
caring
army
right now. Like,
well, he's killing some, but
train
there's
station and shit.
40 million people, and he's going
Right.
to take that place over. None of us are going to do anything about it, and he's going to have 40 million people that work, for the Russian machine. That's what he needs, people. So if he goes and sacrifices, 100,000 Russian soldiers, he just picked up 40 million.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see about the Finland stuff too, because Finland finally is like, we're applying to NATO. He was like, if you sign up for NATO, it's on. Because he's right there.
Man.
Finland's right there.
And
Finland's
Sweden.
fucked
Yeah, and
Russia
Sweden,
up a couple times.
That's the craziest thing that I've seen. And granted, who knows the reality of it, but it seems like their ability as a one major force is completely different than what everyone anticipated.
it seems like you can beat them if you don't go into Russia.
Yeah, because they're just going to freeze you out.
Napoleon's probably the greatest general ever, and he made that mistake.
Yeah.
Well, you got to come into Russia from the east.
Or just stay out of Russia. I don't know. Or in the summer.
Yeah.
Go in the summer. Yeah, everybody goes in the winter. Oh. Yeah, those are hard people, man. That's like, we talk about hard times creating hard men.
Yeah, for real.
Whew.
Yeah.
I don't want to go fight in Russia.
No.
Uh-oh.
No. Pass.